Welcome to the Trading with Venus podcast, where we help you establish strong trading habits, generate consistent profits, and create the lifestyle you desire for yourself and your family. Now your host, Raman Gill.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Trading with Venus podcast. I'm your host, Raman Gill. A lot of times I get asked a question, what is the best time to trade? Now, when we look at best time to trade, we have to look at the different sessions. So there are three main sessions when it comes to Forex trading. The market is open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. So Sunday through Friday, the markets are open and the markets close on Saturday and then pick back up on Sunday. So Friday 4:30 or 5 o'clock, the markets close and then they pick back up on Sunday. So within that, every single day within the 24-hour period, we have three sessions. The first session is the Asian session, and we'll start with that because on Sunday, that's where the market starts. So they are the first ones up in Asia, and as a result, the market will open with the Asian session. And the Asian session starts at about 7 p.m. Eastern. So for people in North America, that's the time that we are actually getting into our nighttime, but that's when the markets, actually the session starts. But the Asian session really starts at about 5 p.m. Eastern when the New York session stops. But there's a little bit of a gap there because the Asian markets are just coming on between 5 and 7. That's as the sun moves, the Asian markets are coming on, the Japan starts, and then all the different Asian markets will come on. So about 7 p.m. Eastern is when people are basically at their desks trading. So that's the Asian session. Now we have London session that starts at 3 a.m. Eastern. But before the London session starts, about an hour before, we have the Frankfurt Open, which is 2 a.m. Eastern. So 2 to 3 a.m. Eastern is when we see the European session. So European starts at 2 a.m., London starts at 3 a.m. Eastern. And then we get into the New York session that usually starts around 8 a.m. Eastern. So those are the three sessions, and now there is overlap between these sessions because you'll see Asia and European session will overlap for a while, and then we have London session and we see the New York session will overlap. Now, with all these different sessions, what is the best time to trade? The best time to trade, in my opinion, will depend on a few different things. So let's talk about the sessions first. The first thing is which session is the best one to trade. When we talk about which session being best one, we have to look at liquidity. Liquidity is the number of people in the market, right? So if we have more number of buyers and sellers, that time when you have the most number of buyers and sellers will be the best time to trade. And that happens during our European or London session because we have Asian traders who are already there, and a lot of financial transactions tend to flow through London. And as a result of that, the London trading session seems to be very, very active session. There is lots of liquidity, lots of transaction going through. A lot of people are already awake during that time, and a lot of financial transactions go through that time. When we look at Forex trading, it's not just the trades that are going through. Why are people exchanging money? That's something we have to look at. And a lot of times people exchange money for big transactions, mergers and acquisitions. They need to do the payroll when you have multinational companies paying their employees in different parts of the world. They need to exchange whatever the money from their headquarters currency into their local currency. So a lot of those financial transactions go through. So London tends to be one of the busiest times to trade, the London session. And then we get into the New York session. When we go into the New York session, our London colleagues would have gone to lunch and then they're coming into the second half of their day. If they have already done well in the first part of the day, a lot of them may not take trades into the second part because if you've done well, why give back the money? So activity tends to be less and people are winding down after lunch into going into the close of the London session. And we have this overlap. So for New York session, the morning tends to be the busiest time. That's when we have the overlap between London and New York. So between about 8 to 12 p.m. Eastern, that's the busiest time. And because it's high liquidity, a lot of traders, overlap between London and New York, and usually markets are moved by the news that comes out during this time as well. So all of those factors make New York morning time also a good time for trading. So those two, between London and New York morning, are good times to trade. In the New York session, second half of the New York session, we see liquidity drop off. A lot of traders are not in the market. Asia is sleeping, as well as the London, everybody is kind of back into their evening time. So their liquidity drops off. People are not there. What we tend to see is pullbacks during that time. The move would have been made, and then people are closing out their positions, and we see pullbacks during that time. And going into Asia, just because there are less people in the market during that time, because folks in Europe are already sleeping, folks in North America are going into their evening, nighttime, so there aren't a lot of people left in the market to really have the transactions. So we see narrow ranges in the Asian session. For example, if a currency moves 100 pips, let's say euro moves 100 pips on a given day, in Asia we may only see about 20 to 40 pips range. That means there are less people in the markets, prices are not moving as much. So it's harder to make money during that time because there isn't a lot of movement. For us to make money, we need movement. We need prices to move. If they're just stable, then it's hard to make money out of those times. So if you're trading the Asian session, you can still do that, but you just have to understand that the number of pips you're looking for will be a lot less in the Asian session compared to the London session or New York session when the market is busier. Now, it also depends on what kind of goals you have. If your goals are very lofty, if you want to make a lot of money, then you have to trade the session that will give you the most opportunity to make money. And a lot of times that tend to be the London session. So that kind of also depends on your goals. Big goals, then you have to also trade the busiest and the most important session. Now, you can do the same with New York as well, but a lot of times I find there are a lot of tweets and other things that come out in the New York session that tends to drive prices for no reason, and as a result of that, the volatility tends to be a little bit more in the New York session. But if your goals are to make a lot of money fairly quickly from Forex, that means you have to take more trades, then you have to be there during the active market trading hours, because if you're not there during the active hours, then you are just dealing with narrow ranges and you can't make as many pips. So your targets need to be smaller for that. The third thing you need to keep in mind when you're looking at what the best time to trade is also your lifestyle. If you're a busy person with a lot of different obligations besides trading, like family, full-time job, and other things like that, then you really need to think about what works for me, what will fit into my lifestyle. And a lot of times I'll tell people to look at the daily candlesticks for that, because based on the daily candlesticks, you can find the market direction and you can take a trade based on that. That, in my opinion, is the easiest way to trade. Now, do keep in mind, if you're trading from the daily candlestick, your stop loss will be much bigger and your profit targets would have to sort of go hand in hand with that. But trading the daily charts, daily time frame, is one of the easiest one, because it is sort of like a swing trade, because you can hold it for a couple of days. However, it's not completely a swing trade where you're sitting on the trade for weeks or months without it really going anywhere. So you still have that opportunity to make money, but your position size needs to be smaller because your stop loss is bigger, and also you have to be a little bit more patient with it, because it's easier to make money day trading, but it takes a lot of time and effort. Whereas if you have other obligations, it's better to go slow and steady and actually trade that from that daily chart. Those are my thoughts on what the best time to trade is. Now it's your turn to look at what are your goals, what do you want to get out of your trading, so you can decide what the best time to trade is for you. If you want to make lots of money and be able to get lots of trades, then London and New York sessions may be the best ones for you. Or if you want to fit trading in your lifestyle and make that secondary income on the side, then you can look at trading from the daily charts. But again, take a look at your goal and your lifestyle, then make that decision. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give us 2 thumbs up and feel free to share with your friends. For show notes for this episode, please visit tradingwithvenus.com/podcast page. That's it for today. Have a great trading week, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us today. With much gratitude, your show host, Raman Gill.